The $100 bill. The most counterfeited money denomination in the world. Keeps the globe moving. This is what 10 grand looks like. Enough for a great vacation or to buy a used car. Approximately 1 year of work for the average human on Earth. You're looking at $1 million. Not as big a pile as you thought. Still, this is 92 years of work for the average human being. This is $100 million. Plenty to go around for everyone. Fits nicely on a standard size pallet. $1 billion. You'll definitely need some help robbing a bank. Now we're getting serious. And the Mac Daddy. $1 trillion. Now when the US government speaks about a $1.7 trillion deficit, this is the volumes of cash the US government borrowed in 2010 alone to run itself. Now keep in mind, it is double-stacked pallets of $100 million each, full of $100 bills. Now you're going to need a lot of trucks to freight this around. If you spend $1 million a day since Jesus was born, you would not have spent $1 trillion by now.
Here's our problem. We have a crushing burden of debt that is coming to hit our economy. This is what it all comes down to. We are driving our country and our economy off of a cliff. The reason is because we are spending so much more money than we have. We can't keep spending money we don't have. 42 cents out of every dollar coming out of Washington, it's borrowed money. Let's take a look at where it's coming from. We're borrowing it, 47% of it, from other countries. China, number one. Mr. Speaker, you can't have sovereignty, self-determination as a country if we're relying on other governments to cash flow half of our deficit. This is where we are. Here's the problem we have right now, Mr. Speaker. We have a leadership deficit. I keep hearing about the president's got a plan, the president's offering balance. The president hasn't offered a thing yet. Nothing on paper, nothing in public. Leading on reporters at press conferences is not leadership. Giving speeches, according to the CBO, is not budgeting. The president did inherit a tough problem. No two ways about it. What did he do with this problem? He drove us deeper into debt. $1 trillion of borrowed money for stimulus that was promised to keep unemployment below 8% and went up to 10, and now it's at 9.2. A stalled economy. A budget the president gave us that doubles the debt in 5 years and triples it in 10 years. That's not leadership. What has the other body done in the Senate, our partners on the other side of the aisle? Mr. Speaker, it's been 811 days since they bothered trying to pass a budget. Congress has gone for 2 years without a budget. What did we do when we assumed the majority? We passed a budget. We wrote a budget. We did it in daylight, not in the back room. We drafted it. We brought it through the committee. We had amendments. We brought it to the floor. We debated it, and we passed it. That is what we've done. And when you take a look at our problem, Mr. Speaker, you have to address what is driving our debt. Here is just the cold, hard facts. 10,000 people are retiring every day. The baby boomers are here, and we're not ready for them. Far fewer people are following them into the workforce. Healthcare costs are going up 4 times the rate of inflation. The Congressional Budget Office is telling us Medicare goes bankrupt in 9 years. Medicaid is already bankrupting our states. These are the drivers of our debt. By the year 2025, 3 programs, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, plus our interest, consume 100% of all federal revenues. By the end of this decade, 20% of our revenues go to just paying interest. This is unsustainable. So what does our budget do? What does the document that we pass that shows leadership on this issue do? It saves these programs. For Medicare, we say, you already retired if you're retired. If you're about to retire, we don't want to pull the rug out from under you. You organize your life around these programs, so let's keep it as is. But in order to cash flow that commitment, in order to make good on that promissory note, you have to reform it for the next generation. And let's do it in a way that looks like the commission that President Clinton authored. A system that resembles the one we have as members of Congress, where we get to choose the plans that meet our needs, where we don't subsidize wealthy people as much, and we subsidize low-income and sick people a whole lot more. That's what a safety net is. We fix it and we save Medicare. What does the other body do? What does the law do that the president does? Raids $500 billion from Medicare, puts a new board in charge of price controlling and rationing care to current seniors, and does nothing to save it from bankruptcy. These are the issues that have got to be dealt with. Mr. Speaker, we keep hearing about balance. We keep hearing about the need to raise taxes as we cut spending, $3 for one or something to that effect. The red line shows Congressional Budget Office projections on spending. The green lines are taxes. Basically what this says is there's no way you can tax your way out of this problem. We asked the Congressional Budget Office, if we try to do that, have balance, raise taxes, the tax rates on the next generation would be this. The lowest income tax bracket that lower income people pay, which is 10% now, goes to 25%. Middle income taxpayers pay a 66% rate. And the top tax rate, which is what all those successful small businesses that create most of our jobs pay, would go to 88%. That's according to the Congressional Budget Office. That's the path we are on right now. This is unsustainable. What is needed is leadership. And the reason we're talking about this debt limit increase is because we've seen none. None from the president, none from the other body. And so if we're not going to have a budget process, how on earth are we going to get spending under control so we can solve this problem? Our budget, this cap, and this cut gets the debt paid off. It puts us on a path to prosperity. It closes loopholes to lower tax rates to grow jobs. It says that the genius of America is the individual, is the business,
The
not
dollar
our government.
collapse will be the single largest event in human history. This will be the first event that will touch every single living person in the world. All human activity is controlled by money. Our wealth, our work, our food, our government, even our relationships are affected by money. No money in human history has had as much reach in both breadth and depth as the dollar. The dollar is the de facto world currency. All other currency collapses will pale in comparison to this big one. All other currency crises have been regional, and there have been other currencies for people to grasp onto. This collapse will be global, and it will bring down not only the dollar, but all other fiat currencies, as they are fundamentally no different. The collapse of currencies will lead to the collapse of all paper assets, and the repercussions to this will have incredible results worldwide. Thanks to globalization and the giant vampire squids of the Anglo-American Empire, the dollar is the world's reserve currency. It supports the world economy in settling foreign trade, most importantly the petrodollar trade. The money is then recycled through the City of London, not to be confused with London, and Wall Street. This fuels corporate vampires that acquire and harvest the world's wealth. The corporate powers then suppress real assets like natural resources and labor to provide themselves massive profits. This fascist, statist, collectivist model provides the money into the economy to fund an ever-increasing federal government. The government then grows larger and larger, enriching its minions with jobs to control their fellow citizens. Finally, to come full circle, The government then controls other nations through its military-industrial complex. This cycle will be cut when the mathematically inevitable collapse of the dollar happens. In order for our debt-based money to function, we must increase debt every year in excess of the debt and interest accrued the year before, or we will enter a deflationary death spiral. When debt is created, money is created. When debt is paid off, money is destroyed. There is never enough to pay off the debt because there would not be $1 in existence. We are at a point where we will either default on the debt or create more money in debt to keep this cycle going. The problem is, if you understand anything about compounding interest, we are reaching a hockey stick moment where the more debt that is incurred, the less effective it is, and this leads us to hyperinflation. There are only two actors needed for this hyperinflation: the lender of last resort, the Federal Reserve, and the spender of last resort, the government. These two can and will blow up the entire system. I believe that they will wait until the next crisis and the whiff of a deflationary depression before they fire up the printing press.
Yeah, I'm in this bitch with terror, gotta